Summer is supposed to be a time of fun, relaxation, and enjoying all sorts of events like going to the beach, taking in the parades and carnivals, and going on vacation. But for kids with sensory processing disorder, it can be a season full of stress and difficulty. In fact, for many families, this is when they first recognize the signs of sensory issues in their kids. Noticing they're easily overwhelmed in big crowds or with loud noises, can't handle transitions well, and struggle to stay calm and regulated in the heat. Unfortunately, these sensory struggles aren't just for a few families here or there. As of today, 1 in 6 kids with sensory processing disorder, or SPD, have a variety of these challenges each and every day. Their nervous system struggles to filter out and regulate normal input, leaving them in a constant state of sensory overload. Another unfortunate thing is pediatricians often dismiss parents' concerns, saying it's just a phase. But the truth is, early intervention is absolutely crucial for children with SPD to thrive. And even more importantly, those interventions must address the root cause of SPD and not just recommend workarounds that may be helpful, but they're not sustainable. So this video, it's for parents who suspect their child may have sensory processing disorder and want to understand the signs, the causes, and the available care options for their child. So what we'll do, we'll dive into all things sensory processing disorder and explore how the perfect storm of factors then contribute to its development, and how neurologically focused chiropractic care can help restore balance to your child's nervous system. Like we mentioned before, sensory processing disorder affects a staggering 1 in 6 kids, with the numbers still continually rising. SPD is frequently overlooked and misunderstood by most healthcare providers, and SPD also co-occurs with autism spectrum disorder. But remember, they're two totally distinct conditions. Children with sensory challenges may show age-appropriate skills in some areas while struggling with pronounced sensory-based difficulties in others. First, I'd love to share the most common signs of sensory processing disorder in kids. There's oversensitivity to touch, types of clothing, sounds, smells, sights, and trying new foods, which may lead to discomfort with certain textures, avoidance of being touched, or distress when clothing feels too tight or itchy, as well as covering ears in response to like normal sounds, fear of loud noises like vacuum cleaners, you've got sirens, you've got alarms. Then there's the sensory seeking input, which is the constant touching of objects, seeking like those strong tactile sensations, or engaging in rough play. Then you've got avoiding the sensory input, which looks like avoiding activities that involve physical contact. You've got avoiding hugs, being distressed by activity like haircut or teeth brushing of the teeth. Then you've also got the difficulty in those fine motor skills. That looks like challenges with tasks like buttoning clothes, using utensils, or writing. You've got the difficulty with the gross motor skills. That's more with problems like activities with running or jumping or riding a bike. Then that also, runs close to that. You've got the balance with coordination issues. That's like frequent tripping or falling or appearing really clumsy. Then you've got poor body or spatial awareness. That's really the difficulty of knowing where your body is in space, leading to bumping into objects or other people. You've got the overwhelm in crowded places that causes distress or anxiety in those crowded environments like malls or parks or parties. You've got difficulty transitioning between activities. There you see things like meltdowns or anxiety from changing from one activity to another or moving between different environments. You've got the emotional outbursts, which is the frequent tantrums or meltdown in response to those sensory overloads or those frustrations. You've got difficulty calming, where they struggle to soothe themselves when they're upset. They often need some sort of external help to then calm down, like a weighted blanket or a hug. You've got hyperactivity or inactivity, which is being excessively active or lethargic, depending on the sensory input that they're seeking or avoiding. You've got difficulty sleeping, which is the trouble of falling asleep, staying asleep due to those sensory sensitivities. There's the poor attention span. You've got difficulty focusing on tasks, easily distracted by other sensory stimuli coming in. You've got repetitive behaviors like engaging in repetitive motions or actions in a way to almost self-soothe or manage that sensory input. Stemming can fall under this. So what's really going on with all of these things when it comes to the nervous system and SPD? Sensory processing is a 3-part process. First, I think of it in 3 buckets, 3 steps, 3 buckets. First, the sensory input comes in through the sensory nerves and sensory aspect of the spinal cord. This is where reading information from both the internal or the body and the external environments. Okay, that information has to come in first. Then number 2 or second, the brain, the central nervous system has to then process or interpret that information and determine what's important to pay attention to or react to and what's not important or should be filtered out or ignored. And third, the third step, number 3, the brain and the nervous system then have to send that information and what's called actions or impulses out to the different parts of the brain and the body to then react and respond to the incoming sensory input. So when the sensory nerve pathway into the brain and the nervous system is altered or interfered with, the brain and the nervous system then receive bad information. That bad information in turn then leads to poor decision making or interpretation. And finally, the bad or inappropriate actions and outputs are the result of the bad information and improper processing or interpretation of that sensory information that was going in. This is the take-home point. It's a neurosensory communication and connection problem called subluxation or nervous system dysregulation. So once you understand this 3-part process, once you understand subluxation and the nervous system dysregulation, then parents can truly understand what the root cause of SPD is. So number 3, why are these sensory issues and subluxations so hard to find and make sense of? Well, first off, most traditional pediatricians and medical doctors do not have a good understanding of SPD and neurosensory function as a whole. Okay. Number 2, no traditional medical testing that we have right now or even movement-based therapies like PT and OT know how to actually find and detect what's called subluxation or nervous system dysregulation in the way that we talked about. And while the root cause of sensory processing disorder may escape the most common medical diagnostic testing, our neurologic insight scans here at Live Better Chiropractic are literally designed to find subluxation, nervous system dysregulation, and dysfunction and help parents see with their own eyes exactly what's causing their child's frequent tantrums, their frequent meltdowns, and their sensory difficulties. If you feel like you've done months or even years of OT and made all sorts of sensory workarounds part of your normal everyday life, and you just want things to be easier and less modified for your child and family, you need to learn more about exactly how neurologically focused chiropractic care works. This specialized form of chiropractic care, like we provide here at Live Better Chiropractic, can do so much for kids struggling with sensory issues. Help your child and your whole family get back to an easier, a calmer, and more consistent quality of life with this specific type of chiropractic care. To learn more or to schedule your appointment, simply visit the link below or in our bio, leave us a comment, or send us a DM to get connected with one of our care advocates right away.